Dear friends, it's day 940 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. American supporter of the Russian terrorism murdered by the Russian terrorists. According to the investigation, Russians bombed an elderly house in Sumy and 61 kamikaze drones were intercepted over Ukraine. Let's talk about the most recent updates right now. Tonight, Russian terrorists launched 70 Iranian-built kamikaze drones and one missile, traditionally targeting Ukrainian infrastructure. 61 drones were intercepted, according to the reports of the Ukrainian Air Force. Satellite images showed the aftermath of the spectacular explosion which took place in Toropets, Russia, where approximately 30,000 tons of the Russian missiles were stored by the Russian terrorists. In particular, a huge crater, almost 100 meters or 300 feet in diameter, can be recognized on the footage. The stockpile was built in 2015, approximately 200 kilometers away from Latvia. Why did the Russians build the ammo storage so close to the NATO border? Apparently because after finishing Ukraine, they were gonna use it in their upcoming invasion of Europe. Thanks to a good Ukrainian drone, the Russian terrorists won't be able to use this stockpile to kill people neither in Ukraine nor in Europe anymore. The Russians retaliated for losing their stockpile, which also included some of the North Korean missiles, by striking one of the biggest elderly houses in Sumy using a gliding bomb. Of course, the Russian media will definitely justify the strike, saying that all the people you see on your photos were actually Ukrainian military personnel. Alternatively, they will tell you Ukraine did it, like it happened with the Russian strike on the pediatric clinic in Kyiv. When the pro-Russian influencers in the US blamed Ukraine in the social media, what kind of filthy degenerates strike elderly houses and hospitals? The answer is pretty much on your screen. This is how the true Russian soldiers at war look like. Nothing like those naive Russian vankas portrayed by the Russia Today, trying to humanize Russian atrocities and their war crimes. And speaking of crimes, the Russian court confirmed that American supporter of the Russian terrorism, Russell Bentley, also known as Texas or Donbass Cowboy, was indeed murdered by the Russian terrorists on the Russia-occupied territory of Ukraine. Russell Bentley, charged with felony trafficking of drugs in the United States, self-proclaimed communist who visited Cuba and ran to Ukraine to support the Russian terrorism, went missing in April this year in Donetsk Oblast. As it turned out, the poor bastard was captured by the drunk Russian tankers Vitaly Vansansky, Vladislav Galtsev, Vladimir Bazhan, and Andrei Yerdanov. The Russians decided to make American more acquainted with the beautiful Russian culture of violence. As a result, Russell was tortured and beaten to death by the Russian officers, who then placed his body in a car and blew it up using explosives. Of course, since Bentley served as a Russian propagandist brainwashing the Western audience, the court indeed took place and Russian tankers were charged with murder. Turned out they didn't watch internet, and even if they did, they don't understand English. They gave absolutely no damn about Russell being a well-recognized Russian propagandist. And apparently they honestly believed by killing an American citizen they were doing something good for their atrocious motherland. To summarize this story, supporting Russian and not only Russian terrorism will most probably bring you to a horrible and inevitable demise. My dear viewers, don't do this at home. It's dangerous. Tonight on the stream we will talk with Richard from the Frontline Kit, the guy who builds drones for the Ukrainian army. Richard will answer all sorts of questions about drones, from small FPV kamikaze drones to those huge bombers that you would probably see on the footage from the Donbass. Please make sure to follow the announcements on my channel. With that, my friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. Please share your thoughts in the commentaries. I'm Operator Starsky, as always. Be safe.